Good morning and welcome to the Birkbeck graduation ceremony here in Senate House, the historic headquarters of the University of London. May I now introduce the Vice-Chancellor of Birkbeck, Professor David Latchman.
Welcome to this graduation ceremony in which, above all, we celebrate the achievements of you, our graduates. Those are the words with which I've begun my addresses in the Senate House for around 18 years at various graduation ceremonies here. But today, they are even more true. Today, we are returning to in-person graduation ceremonies after 2.5 years, an occasion for all of us to celebrate. But of course, we're also celebrating the fact that you, our graduates, studied under the most difficult conditions, perhaps since the Second World War. And yet, you have achieved your aims, you've managed to get through and achieve the qualifications that you wanted. So today is a very, very special day. But I don't just want to look back to the pandemic, I want to look forward, and I want to give you a number. And that number is 577. And yesterday it was 578. That is the number of days until the 2nd of December 2023, when Birkbeck will celebrate its 200th anniversary. Not many institutions reach 200 years, but still fewer reach those 200 years doing something that their founders would recognize. If George Birkbeck were to appear in this room now, he might not understand about master's degrees. He might not understand about what psychosocial studies is, but he would understand about educating working people and allowing people to fulfill their potential, perhaps if they've missed out or they want to change careers and so on. 200 years ago, or 198 years ago, the Tory press attacked the formation of the London Mechanics Institute, as Birkbeck was then called. If we educate the men on the ship, notice the men on the ship, to the same level as the captain, the result will be mutiny, they said. George Birkbeck is spreading the seeds of evil and doing the devil's work. 198 years later, all political parties agree on the importance of lifelong learning. We have won that battle. We have the government introducing a lifelong learning entitlement in which everybody will be entitled to 4 years of study with government-backed loans. And yet, of course, there still remains all to play for, because the devil is in the detail of that proposal. Will it be free for all subjects? Will subjects like the social sciences and the arts be funded in the same way as perhaps the more utilitarian science or law or whatever it may be? That is absolutely critical, that this is subject-free and not subject-specific. Equally, now is the time to abolish the pernicious ELQ rule, the equivalent or lesser qualification, which means that if you have a degree, you cannot get a loan to study for anything at the same level or a lower level. We need a new radical system for the lifelong learning entitlement. It must be an entitlement and not an allowance to do what the government of the day wants from workforce planning. Equally, Birkbeck has to rise to the challenge. We have recently issued a lifelong learning guarantee to you, our graduates, and our alumni, whereby any course you have taken or take in the future will result in the accumulation of credit points that you can then use against other courses, whether that's going from a bachelor's to a master's or a master's to a PhD, or from your master's simply saying, I'd like to do a short course in something that's always interested me or something that I feel the need for at work. You will be able to accumulate credit towards that. Equally, of course, we want you to remain associated with us as our alumni. Join our 73,000 strong alumni society, and you will receive this magnificent mug. And I'm afraid I have to tell you that it is in rather short supply because we've lost some of them over the course of the pandemic. So get in there early, otherwise you may get some other less magnificent souvenir instead. But today is actually, of course, as I said at the beginning, about celebrating. And it's about celebrating the tripartite partnership that has brought you, our graduates, here today. And I don't mean the tube train. So let's have the 3 rounds of applause for the 3 partners in that partnership. Number 1, for the staff of Birkbeck, as represented on the platform, who continue to teach under extraordinarily difficult circumstances to allow you to reach this great day. Secondly, I want to celebrate a component of the partnership which could perhaps be overlooked, and that is you, the relatives and friends. Under normal times, 2 or 3 years ago, I would say, only you know when you had to take the kids out to the park or to the cinema so that your graduate could work. But of course, in today, the world we've just been through for the last couple of years, it's perhaps more only you know when you had to give up the kitchen table or the laptop so that your graduate could study and fulfill their aims. So we say thank you, but before we have a round of applause, I have another message for you, the relatives and friends, and that is Birkbeck is for everyone. You too can be at the front of this lecture theatre. Seize back the kitchen table and the laptop and study at Birkbeck. But in the meanwhile, while you ponder that, let's have a round of applause from our graduates and the staff. And finally, and most importantly, today is about you, our graduates. I was once introduced to the director of a multinational company, and he said to me, when I see Birkbeck on a CV, I put it to the top of the pile because your people, your graduates, have the commitment that I want in my business. That applies to all Birkbeck graduates. But when your CVs are seen in the future, people will say, look at the date on that CV. Graduated in 2022. Look at what those students did over and above what the normal Birkbeck student has had to do for the last 198 years. You have achieved something very special which will remain with you for the rest of your lives and for your careers. It may have been difficult, but in the end, it will be worth it. And I ask our relatives and friends and the staff to join me in applauding our graduates. Thank you, and enjoy the graduation ceremony.
The platform party has left